I assume we are live, Collin, by the laughter and everything that you're doing. How you doing, man? Good to see you. Welcome,
I'm doing
everybody.
great. How are you doing? Yes, we are live. I just confirmed on Facebook. We're live and ready to go.
Welcome to Wednesday, September 1st, Strike a Chord Live podcast with my dear friend, Collin Harbor. And we have a very, very special guest today, another dear, dear friend of mine, Megan DiMartino. Megan, welcome to Strike a Chord Live podcast. How are you doing this morning?
I am well. Good to be here with you guys. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, thank you for being here. It's an honor and a joy. We're very happy to have you here. And Collin, I just wanted to let you know, Megan and I have known each other for a while. She is part of the whole Strike a Chord, 67-day challenge, Breakfast with Champions, all that good stuff with Glenn Lundy. We're cut from the same cloth there. And that's how Megan and I met. And then the neatest thing about it is that we got to meet in person about a month ago in Queens in New York at the Breakfast with Champions Consortium. And then Megan was kind enough to have me on her podcast, Unique Leaders. That was about a month ago. So she's returning the favor and she's coming on our podcast, Strike a Chord Live, with you and I. So.
Yeah, no, that's great. And when I saw you on her podcast, I did a little bit of looking into her background. I know she's a successful business developer. She's owned and developed and created several large, seven-figure businesses. She's a success coach. And I know you'll probably get into more of an introduction for her, but I'm very excited about this because we can always learn. And I'll say this, September 1st, 2021 is, as well as it being the first time that Megan has been on Strike a Chord Live podcast, there's a couple of other things that happen in history. And I know you and I were talking about this earlier, September 1. I think there's a couple of things. So first of all, 1985, the wreck of the Titanic was found. Right?
Wow.
That's pretty cool.
Wow.
So
that's a big deal.
September 1, 1939, I believe it was when Hitler invaded Poland.
Oh, no.
Not a good day. No.
Not a good day.
No.
Not a good day, but really a defining day in the history of the world, if you will.
Absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
also, one of the things I found was that on this day, September 1, in 1971, the Pittsburgh Pirates fielded Major League Baseball's first all-black lineup. So think about that.
How cool is that?
We're talking about just 50 years ago, in a sport in America, that was the first all-black lineup. Doc Ellis was the pitcher in that game.
Wow. I love Doc Ellis.
Pittsburgh's two major newspapers didn't even cover the game. They didn't even cover the game. And, again, we try to avoid politics, and I don't think we're talking about politics, but I'm glad we've come a long way since then. Let's put it that way.
That's right. Well, and crazy thing is that, that was when you and I were alive. I mean, that's in our lifetime, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and my dear friend and Megan is good friends with Danny Smith Madness too. She just put in Doc Ellis. And if you know the story of Doc Ellis, I'm just going to say it, Collin. He's the only pitcher, Megan, in Major League history to throw a no-hitter while on LSD.
Oh my God.
So there's a documentary on Doc Ellis. It's a true story. You'll have to go look it up. But Danny Smith Madison says, Pittsburgh is my other home. And the great thing why I'm mentioning Danny, who I dearly love, Collin, is she has agreed to be a guest on Strike a Chord Live podcast. We're going to have Danny on, but we only have a few minutes with Megan. So we need to get to the meat of the portion, which is my dear friend, Megan Martino. Megan, thank you so much for being here. We're so glad to have you on the podcast, even for half an hour.
Well, thank you. And I'm so sorry that it has to just be half an hour because I had committed to something else, but I'll be back. We can continue talking. I'm from New York originally. I'm a New York girl, and I say New York girl deep in the heart of Texas. I've been in the Austin, Texas area for almost 20 years, but I came to Fort Worth, Texas in 1987 for a job with Alcon Laboratories. So I've been in national sales, marketing, and development in the beauty industry for many, many years. And so in New York, I was in the fashion industry for a while, and then migrated, so to speak, into national sales of the beauty industry, national sales for 2 large companies. So I've been in this genre for a long time, but I've been in Texas almost as long as I was in New York. So I'm kind of, in between.
Isn't that amazing?
Dynamic, yeah.
Well, speaking of beauty, Danny says, hey, Megan D, you look beautiful. So Danny's telling you look beautiful. And Megan, real quick, I like to acknowledge the folks on here that are here. My mom is here watching. I would love to introduce my mom to you, Megan. Her name is Janet. Good morning, Mom. I love you. Ryan Gallagher, good morning. Good to see you. I love you. Peggy Gossman, I love you. Good to see you. Of course, Danny Smith Mathis, we love her. Good morning. Let's see, we got anybody else in here? Yes, James Harold Smith says, you know what today is? Today is the first day of the rest of our lives. Boom. Love you, James. That's great. Kim Smith, good to have you here. I love you. All right. So Megan, you mentioned that you had that you were part of a few beauty companies, but I think I'm correct in understanding that you started your own, right?
Yes. So I left Alcon in 1990, 91, and then did R&D, research and development, and put together my first brand called Glycolique, which was a pioneer in alpha hydroxyglycolic acid skincare, meaning result-oriented, led to that medical skincare phenomenon. And so I'm really a pioneer in that whole dynamic. Had no idea it was going to be that, but was very blessed to be inside that business that is publicly traded. So I had a lot of information and was able to do that research and development, and then left and started my own business.
And what was that like? What made that happen?
Well, first off, again, we don't have a lot of time, but
right.
My family background, my dad, Ray DiMartino, was an entrepreneur himself. And so I was brought up by an entrepreneur. My grandfather, DiMartino, Alberto DiMartino, was an Italian immigrant, came to the United States at 16. So he had a lot of chutzpah,
right.
And his story is long, but he ended up being a barber, and so introduced my father to kind of the beauty genre, because he also then started a salon from his barbershop, and loved doing the Ziegfeld girls in New York City and things of that nature.
Right.
So it's in my DNA. My dad invented tissue end papers. If you've ever had a perm, they roll a perm using tissue end papers to protect the ends. Too long of a story, but as a child, we were packing end papers in our basement. So that was the beginning of my beauty industry training, so to speak. I was about 5. You talk about the 50s there, with your baseball. So basically, as my mom said, Ray, she's more like you than any of our kids, because I was the middle child of 4. Right. So I was brought up by this entrepreneur. I actually, I'll just share this. I wrote a book, and Danny Smith Mathis just published her book, and I'm sure she'll be speaking about that when she comes on. But in 2011, my husband passed away, and Paul Tyler, fabulous man, and just really a great inspiration to me, meaning he really supported my vision. And he, in 2010-ish, end of 9-10, he developed a disease called Lewy body syndrome, which is a Parkinson's form of dementia. I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. But God knew that my heart needed to be healed and that he needed an advocate. Mm-hmm. So anyhow, when Paul passed, the early morning of September 29th, 2011, it was, as the day was dawning, I was in my kitchen, and the backyard was full of white butterflies, full, not a couple, full. And I'm like, whoa. And I was exhausted because I'd been up a couple of days, but I started talking to God, and I said, what are you trying to say to me? Mm-hmm. And I put my head down. I was sitting at the kitchen table by this point, and I sat down and I started praying. And as I was lifting my head, I heard, share your story. Mm. And I said, I'm sitting there saying, my story? What story? I mean, I remember having this conversation, and I said, tonight, Paul's journey, my life story, what story? Well, God doesn't answer those questions. Right. So that was, 2011. Well, I started journaling. And from that journaling, in 2017, I wrote an outline, and I sort of had the title. But then in 2019, I didn't start it, writing it. But 2019, I started working on a course. And at that time, the course was just specifically for the spa industry. And at that time, guys, I had this crushing thing in my spirit. You're not doing what I said to do. And I put that pen down with that, or my computer, and I took the outline out and I wrote the story, the book.
Wow.
It's called Hope and Possibilities Just Over the Horizon. It's never too early or too late to create the life of your dreams. So essentially, it's my story from little girl who had these dreams of being, I was the kid that would put on all the plays. I'd say, Marcus, come on, and you can be this and you can be that. And, was the, director too of the show. And, but then as time went on, I started designing clothing with my mother. She was a great seamstress. But I went to Catholic school, so I wore a uniform, but all my, prom dresses and things, and my wedding dress, I designed and she sewed them. And so I went to college for fashion merchandising, but this story is in my book. That didn't happen. I did start, but I didn't continue on, but I never lost my dream, guys. And that's what I want to share with your audience, is that's where that hope and possibilities comes in. If you have that, true dream, and mine was to create. Now it didn't end up being fashion, but as I said, as time went on, it became into the beauty industry. And so when I was working for these other companies, I knew I needed the training, because back in those days, there was no Google, there were no websites,
Right.
And so that's where I worked for these other companies and gained the training and information. But then I knew it was time to start. And as I said, my mother said, Ray, she's more like you than any of our kids, because like you asked, what was it like? Well, it was not easy in 1992 as a female. Mm-hmm. Banks didn't loan money to women. I sold my home to capitalize it. Again, I was not going to stop. So the other piece that I'd like to share with you, your guest, is that if you have that dream, you must start. It's always going to evolve. As I say, take that first step. The second and third step will be revealed to you. But you must start, because if you don't start, it's just like your podcast. You have to start, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, Megan, so you may or may not know this, and I'm sure Mark was about to say the same thing. We've had a guest before. Actually, he's been on the show a couple of times, Bruce Pulver.
Well, and he said, hello, great humans, a minute ago. So hello,
okay,
Bruce.
Okay. So but one of the things in our first time with him was about starting. How do you start? Not only that, then how do you stop stopping once you've started? So right. This is starting to become a consistent message on Strike a Chord Live podcast.
Well, and we promise we didn't pay Megan to say any of this. But this is going right along in line with what we've been talking about, Megan. And then our last episode, we were talking about starting over. I just a couple of days ago had a birthday. I'm 49 years old. I'm feeling that 50 thing. Colin's about to be 50. We're doing new things in our advanced state, and so are you, Megan. So anybody, let's say there's some people out there listening right now that are our age. They're 50 and older, and they don't have a choice. They're at a point where they have to do something new. They have to start over. It's not, they can't control it. They are starting over. What's your advice to that person right now that's going through that change in their life?
Well, like you just said, I didn't pay them, guys, to give this lead-in. Right. So my first brand was glycolic, and I was very undercapitalized, but it shot off like a rocket, and I was holding on to the flame. So it was a rocky ride. But it grew to over 7 figures, and I ended up selling it to the lab that manufactured the products. Long story, but they wanted to get into the wholesale beauty industry that I now was firmly entrenched with. So I felt it was smart to sell it, capitalize it, and then run it for them, and then start again. And guess what my second brand is called, I still have it, Novita. Novita means new birth, new life, always something new. Okay. And so I launched Novita in 97 up in Fort Worth, Texas. Sold it again through wholesale distributors to salons. But as the 2000s were starting, all those distributors were privately owned and ended up selling them to publicly traded companies. The Matrix houses were sold to Alberto Culver that owned Sally stores, and then Redken, the L'Oreal bought all the Redken houses. So it wasn't working the same any longer. So I decided, like you just said, to not pivot as much as evolve. So I came down to the Austin area. Long story why I came here versus doing it in Fort Worth. It's more family. But I came to this area and started with knowing not one human being, the Novita Spa, because I am an esthetician. So I was able to do it in one room, and then I built it to a 4,000 square foot luxury day spa and clinical, medical, and wellness spa. During the lockdown last year, guess what? I had to close. Well, I was going into uncharted water. I obviously have been through a lot of tsunamis and pandemics. I mentioned my husband's passing. I mentioned starting a company very undercapitalized. None of this was easy. But so here I'm sitting in there the last day. Everyone just left. It was Saturday, the 21st of March. And I said, what am I going to do now, Lord? And I heard, don't go dark. So every day, guys, every day, Monday through Friday, I got dressed, went down to the spa, of course, a little curbside, a few people, gift cards, but as long as FedEx was open, I was open because we have a shopping cart on our website for Novita Spa clinical products, okay?
Right.
So, but that's when we started Unique Leaders, because we had been doing, live stuff on Facebook, Motivation Monday and things of that nature, Facebook giveaways, Facebook Lives, ostensibly for the products. But one day I said, let's do something with the staff. So we started something with my spa staff. It was called the Pop-Up Shop. But then a friend of mine was starting a directory for alternative medical practitioners. So I called her and I said, hey, you want to come on? We were playing with StreamYard. And so she came on, and that's how Unique Leaders was birthed. And then during that month, I'm talking about March, a guy knocked on my door, literally knocked on. I was about to leave, and I opened the door thinking he wanted to buy something. And he said, hi, I'm so-and-so. Do you have any interest in selling me your business? Excuse me?
Wow.
I said 6 feet away. Okay, 6 feet over there, 6 feet over there. So I invited him in, and we started talking from that position. So in June 2nd, we closed on it, but it was an asset purchase, meaning he bought the expensive equipment. He bought I didn't sell him the trade name, Novita Spa, which is federally trademarked. I didn't sell the product line, the URL, which I have had since '98, but I sold him the asset purchase, the lease and that type of thing. So we closed. I consulted with him for a couple of months, but I have now, back to your question. I mean, this is a thread of it, though.
I get it.
But I have been reinventing this since, let's say, January. So we redid the Novita Spa website. So if you go there, you won't see it as a spa site. It has the product line. We've established an affiliate program. You can now buy spa pricing on it, meaning wholesale, so to speak. And so affiliate, spa, wholesale pricing. Now I'm also involved representing a biotech company called LifeWave, because we started doing stem cell regenerative therapy at Novita. So This is an amazing product, and it's don't have enough time to go into this, but go to the website and check that out, and then DM me or contact me, because there's emails. And you can also get the book, Hope and Possibilities, Just Over the Horizon, because it went to #1 on Amazon January 20th, 2020.
Wow.
My mom's birthday, January 4th. But in the middle of the lockdown, I put it on the website free. That way, give people hope. So it is time to reinvent yourself. And so the last thing I'm doing is basically starting a program. First, I'm going to do a master class in a couple of weeks. But then I'm going to do a weekly subscription, and then a a workshop or a program called Propel. So the subscription is called Propeller, and that's a weekly subscription of hope and possibilities. But also then Propel is a program to start information to start, scale, and sustain the business and life of your dreams with the 5 C's: clarity, courage, confidence, commitment, and compassion. So we'll break this down to give you the tools to get out of your own way, to identify your dreams and goals, and to start. So I'm going to utilize all of these 30 years, guys, to help you, our guest, to start your business. To start.
Sign me up. Sign me up.
Yeah, no, and I think you made a great point there with the last statement. You're going to use your experience.
Yep.
You're going to use 30 years worth of experience, worth of trials and tribulations, worth of ups and downs, worth of good days and bad days to work with others. Right?
Exactly.
To help
Exactly,
others.
Collin.
To
Yes.
build others.
Well, and I can already tell you, Collin, we're going to have Megan back because she has to go in 7 minutes. But the reason she has to go is something that I almost took advantage of. We both have a dear friend, Barbara Majeski, who was on the Today Show, and we've met her through Breakfast with Champions and then in New York. And she has a 14-day challenge that Megan is taking part of. And I almost did it, but I'm part of too many challenges and too many things, so I had to not do it. But that's why Megan has to go. But why I wanted to have Megan on is her story is so fascinating, right? It's so incredible. And it's really an inspiration to other people, Megan, that have experienced loss, that experienced change, experienced surprises that weren't positive. And you're able to persevere and still do your thing and succeed and thrive, right? And
Amen.
so it's very inspirational. So that's why we wanted to have you on here. My dear friend Peggy Gossman says, fascinating. Now I have to go get your book, Megan. Thank you. Danny Smith says, quote, every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end, unquote. You rock, Megan D, from Danny Smith. And then Fred Lenartz, who probably is not here. Good morning. I love you, Fred. Good morning, Bruce Pulver. Love you. So I had to get all that in before I let you go, Megan. But will you please come back and let's spend an hour? And I don't know if y'all can hear the bowling above me, but all of a sudden, my roof is being replaced above me. So I don't know if you can hear all that, but Megan, we only got, I think we could have you on 2 or 3 times and not have the full breadth of your story. So if you would, please, we'd like to have you come back. I think your challenge is in 14 days, so maybe 3 weeks, we'll have you back. But if people do want to, and I want to do this too real quick, I want to share my screen because I was on Unique Leaders, and this is one place that you can find Megan. And there is the advertisement for when I was on a couple of weeks ago, but you can find that at facebook.com/official Megan DiMartino. So we want you to go to Megan's site. Please go to Unique Leaders and follow and subscribe to her podcast. Megan, where else can they find you real quick before we let you go?
Sure. Well, first off, that is a podcast on all the podcast platforms.
Nice.
So Marcus was on a Friday, and so it's live on Friday. Then it goes to YouTube. So you can go to the Megan DiMartino YouTube channel of Unique Leaders and subscribe. But other people such as Sharon Lecter and Bob Berg are all on there. So
amazing.
Glenn Lundy is there as well. And so YouTube, go to podcast, all the platforms. Come to my Facebook pages, my personal as well as my business, which is what you just said, Official Megan DiMartino, then Official Megan DiMartino on Instagram. And then basically, when I have 2 websites, one is megandimartino.com and then novitaspa.com, and they are linked together. So you can get the book on either site. But in the lockdown period, we started the Megan DiMartino site. That's where ostensibly the book is, it's very large and you can see it and just get it there. But you also can get it on novitaspa.com. So you can find me, guys. Just seek it out,
Wonderful.
Yes.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for being on, Megan. I know you have to go. I love you. Thank you for being my friend. You're awesome.
Pleasure.
Yeah.
May I share one little story?
Please do. Please do.
Okay.
It's your time.
So I just want to share that when we were in New York, we were in Queens, which is right over the East River. You can see the city skyline. Well, the event started on Thursday, but they made it clear that if you wanted to go to Central Park and run, to meet down in the lobby. So I said, well, hell's bells, I am going to go, because again, as a New Yorker, I've been to Central Park a million times, literally, maybe not a million, but many, you know, from my children to the zoo to whatever. And I said, but I've never run or walked. I wasn't going to run. But I got in an Uber with Marcus and TM and Letty, Paul, and we went across that 59th Street Bridge. What a, you know, as the sun was really coming up, and we met Glenn Lundy, Brian Benstock, and others at Central Park, and had the great joy of spending that time together. So, you know, guys, that's what I want to leave you with. I just had my 71st birthday.
Wow. Congratulations.
So, thank you. But I say that not to impress you. I say to impress upon you, to start and never stop. And it's about, though, doing what you love. And if you're doing what you love, you'll never be working a day in your life. And then it's surrounding yourself with people like you, Marcus and Collin and Danny and Bruce and Glenn and so forth. And it's life is a joy. No matter how difficult it is, life is a joy. I choose joy, as Danelle Delgado says. So thank you guys for inviting me on, and I will be back.
Wow, it's our pleasure.
Thank
You're
you.
a joy.
It was great meeting you, and that last little message is wonderful. Thank you for sharing that, because that is the kind of encouragement and message we're trying to put out. I don't care if you're 80, 90, 70, 20. It's not too late. You've got to start, whatever starting looks like.
Amen. Right. Whatever it looks like. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Megan. Thank you so much. Tell Barbara I said hi, and we'll see you on the flip, okay?
Okay.
Have a wonderful day.
Guys.
Love
Bye.
you. Peace. Well, Collin, that was just amazing. Something's weird going on, Collin, and I don't know what it is, but it says that we only have 7 minutes to go on this Zoom. I'm not sure why there's a time limit on my Zoom, but there it is. So let's see how we can do this for you, Megan. See if I can get. I don't know if I can kick you off or not, Megan.
Well, I'll just step off, though.
Yeah, I think if you just leave.
I can just get out. Yeah, I'll just leave.
You can step off, leave, whatever you want.
I'll put my specs on and leave the party. Okay, guys. Bye-bye.
Love you. See you.
Bye.
All right. But yeah, I'm not sure why we have only 6 minutes to go on this meeting, but that's what it says, Collin. But man, I don't know about you, but I'm super inspired by what we just experienced. And we didn't even really have to ask Megan anything. She just spoke so eloquently and so fluently. Just, it was great.
It was great. And I like having the, I kind of like having the timer, the countdown. Like, you know, we've got to, we're up against the clock, so to speak.
It's weird. I don't know what happened.
You know, you and I were talking about it just before Megan got on. I mean, your birthday was this week, right? We talked about it last week. This week, you turned another year.
Right. Another trip around the rock.
We've talked about the fact that you and I have started a few new things over the last year, quite frankly, and had to start over several times in the past. So, like I said, we didn't prep her. We didn't prep her at all in this message. I think that somebody's trying to say something, right? Somebody's trying to tell somebody something. And it's that if you're 144 years old and you want to do something, go do it.
Yeah. I really don't think there's an expiration date on the box, right? It's just, it's just, you live life every day like you're dying. Right. And I see Wendy Green's on here. I hadn't acknowledged you, Wendy Green. I love you. Good to see you. I'll see you. And there's just a couple of us in the office right now, Collin. COVID has run through our office a little bit and everybody's scattered. So it's just me and Wendy Green in the office, which is nice. But anyways, I think what's happening, and then I think, Jeannie Osborne, so good to have you here. I love you. Good to see you. This is what's happening. There's a message being sent to me, you, everybody listening here, that age is just a number. It doesn't matter. Millions of people across the globe are starting amazing things right now, later in life. And it's time for you guys to get up and get going, brush the Cheetos off the maroon shirt, right? And get moving, because other people are doing it. They're proving to you that it can be done. There's a million examples out there. So if you're not out moving and grooving like we are, why not? What can we do to inspire you? What can we do to help you? Every open door is a new beginning, right, Collin? So a lot of people will look at change, and we're all going through change in this crazy time that we're going through. A lot of people are seeing closed doors, but I'm seeing open doors. I'm seeing possibilities. I'm seeing opportunities. And that's why we have people like Megan on, and we're going to have my dear friend Danny Smith on soon. And this is just amazing because it's people that are. And Bruce Pulver, I owe you an apology. I saw just a little while ago that you wanted to talk last night, and I missed that. I'm sorry, but Bruce Pulver says September 1st, perfect time to start. Love you, Bruce. I will call you. I've gotten into a bad habit, Collin. When I put the kids to sleep, I fall asleep until midnight, and then I get up at midnight and stay up for a few hours and then go back to sleep. So I've gotten into a bad habit of falling asleep about 8 p.m. and waking up at midnight. So. But anyway.
Yeah, that's all right. That's all right, Mark. That's what happens to people when they get old, but that's just sleeping habits. That's okay. That's just sleeping habits. That is not performance. That is not getting off the couch. That is not wiping the Cheetos off. If you wipe the Cheetos off, though, you're going to have a problem if you haven't already licked your fingers, because then
that's true. You're going to have those Cheeto smudges on the face, right?
All over your shirt. But in our final 3 minutes, I'm assuming in 2 minutes and 57 seconds.
So you can see that, huh?
Down, that it's going to cut out. But
yeah, it is. It is going to cut out. It's weird.
I completely lost my train of thought, which is another thing that happens to you when you get old. So I should write some of this stuff down. That was actually probably going to be the best thing that I say this morning, and I forgot.
We have missed an opportunity this morning, and so in the few minutes that we have left, I would like you to do something for me, Collin, and I would like you to tell the fine people where they can find us.
That's right. You can find us on
this show this morning.
beacons.page/strikeaccord.live.podcast. It lists all of our social media channels. It lists all of our podcast networks. There's little boxes you can click on one. Again, man, we're both so busy that it's hard to push out some of the social stuff, but we're working on it. We are working on it. But we'd love it if you would follow us or subscribe. I know Mark laughs when I say subscribe. I don't know why.
No, it's you can follow us. You can subscribe. Listen, you can follow us on Deezer, my favorite platform to, here's the funny thing, Collin. Yesterday, for fun on Spotify, I just listened to episode number 18. And it was pretty good, man. I was, it was more entertaining than Clubhouse. So I thought we did a good job on episode 18.
Yeah, so I'm a big fan of Deezer too, but I can tell you, because I looked at the analytics last week, we've had 0 people listen to us on Deezer.
Wow. Okay.
They've listened to us on Apple. They've listened to us on Spotify. Amazon Audible was actually the highest that we, the highest number.
Really? Audible is where we're doing it on Amazon, huh?
Yeah. So we've got to get some Deezer followers. All right. So we got 1 minute left. Mark, what do you want to tell everybody? How do you want to encourage everybody today? Like Bruce said, it's September 1. It's a good day. So what do you want to do?
What I want to do here is I want to share my screen and just thank the amazing, the incomparable Megan DiMartino for being here. This is a picture of Megan and I while we are in New York, in Queens. You can't see it, but it's overlooking the Manhattan skyline. I was very inspired by Megan at the time. I was even more inspired by Megan today. So I'd just like to say thank you so much, Megan, for being on. We can't wait to have her back. And man, it's been a great show. We got less than a minute to go, Collin.
We got less than 15 seconds to go.
I love you, bro. Thank you all for watching. We're not sure why this is turning off by itself, but it's been a great episode. See us Friday, this coming up Friday at 6:30 a.m. for another episode of the Strike Accord Live podcast with my dear friend Collin Harbor and myself, Mark Ellis. We may have a special guest. We don't know. We'll figure it out. But that's about it, man. Have a great day.